guys, and welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing an update about the Vermont house, or the cabin, and a lot about its progress. Before we get in, too deeply to that though, after we do this little preview of how the house used to look, I'll also just share some fun little silly updates about Osage, because when I was trying to look back and find material to put into this video, I came across these old photos, from 2018, that just show the house and how it used to look just a few years ago, really, back when people were living in it, long-term renters, a couple of which, over the previous years were two of my brothers, and then also just some of their friends and stuff. They might have, rented the house for a while at a time. So it was getting used throughout the years, kind of intermittently, but as you can see, it really was not ever properly updated or really properly maintained over the years. Now, this house was built in the late 70s, and I actually have in this video here on the kind of middle top left, you can see there's this old article that's framed, and this article was actually about how the house was built. It was a local article done about the house in the Manchester, Connecticut newspaper back in the day. And you'll see later on in the video, we actually have an updated or kind of more just restored version of this same article that I reframed and posted up in the house. So it's still there as kind of just a little thing to kind of commemorate my grandparents building the cabin along with friends and family back in the 70s. So as you can see, the house used to look super rustic. Over the years, it definitely went through some changes, but this has basically always been the vibe of the house prior to the renovation. So very, very I don't know, rustic, bohemian 70s. Just really not updated over the years. And this is just the basics of how it looked. So let's see if we can go on and look at some next photos. This is how the dining room used to look. You can see we have the older windows made of wood and panes of glass on the left. We had this kind of smaller round circular table, and as you can see, the flooring really was not proper flooring. It was basically just subflooring with oriental rugs put over it. So the oriental rugs, many of them are genuine, from Turkey and things like that, because one of my brothers used to work in an oriental rug store, so that was cool and everything, but the subflooring really wasn't proper flooring. Outside, we also used to have this janky satellite dish screwed into the deck, and this is because cell phone reception at the cabin has always been really, really bad. You might be able to get half a bar of 4G, maybe 3G reception at the cabin. And so what you could do is you could literally put your phone into this there's a little wooden bracket in front of the satellite dish, and weirdly it would actually help you to get a little bit of a better signal. So obviously, being able to rent this out as an Airbnb, we needed to give the house actual internet, because this really ultimately just isn't a very safe situation. You can imagine in the case of an emergency or a fire or a power outage or something like that, you really wouldn't be able to call emergency services, certainly not very quickly, because the reception could barely sustain sending a simple text back and forth, let alone sending and actually sustaining an actual call. And so we really had to update the internet ensure that we are providing that for guests. Okay, here's how the kitchen used to look. So again, like janky flooring. Actually, I wish I had a photo. I might have it somewhere, but I couldn't find it for today. But we used to actually have in this hallway area, there was like the flooring was these different pieces of slate. So it was a stone floor, which is kind of cool to walk on with like bare feet. And so I do remember that as being kind of a cool thing. But otherwise, as you can see, there was a peninsula that came out into the middle of the room, and there was also this pole that came up vertically to the ceiling that wasn't even like structurally necessary because we've since removed it without issue. There was like a really janky old microwave from like possibly the 2000s, I don't know. And then there also were these old cabinets from the 70s that kind of look cool if, you know, seen in like a certain light from a certain angle, but many of them were basically like damaged and just not, I mean, you can see here that these vertical ones, they're all like topsy-turvy and not opening and closing smoothly, so we ended up just letting go of these cabinets. We did end up keeping the upper cabinets, but taking away the doors. So that is one thing that we actually did end up keeping from the kitchen. So moving on, we're going to take a look here at the living room. So again, you see the old subflooring and oriental rugs. We have this fire tile, and again, everything just looks like extremely outdated and super janky. Really only appropriate for family and friends. This cabin was originally made for like ski trips for family, but a lot of us aren't actually really into skiing, but we do love the outdoors. And so being able to like, you know, be in the property, go hiking, you know, play in the brook and things like that, there's still lots of like really special memories from growing up and going to this property. Another thing that I do like about this area is this big collage over here. So one of my brothers used to do photography, and there was a time period of a few years where he was like hitchhiking across the US and Canada to do this road trip with like hitchhiking or his motorcycle. It was kind of a mix of the two, or maybe it was several trips together. I can't really remember, but basically he went to like a bunch of different national parks and took some really good photos. And so this is kind of just a collage of a bunch of those photos to kind of form one big gallery wall print, which was pretty cool when you walked in. And you could really see all these in close up and in high detail. The phone camera that I was using to take these photos, it, again, was like really old. I probably got this cell phone in like 2015 or something. And so the camera quality here is like not really good, but I don't know, if you look back at some of my previous videos where I shot them in Vermont, you might see this type of layout. Alright, let's see if I can move on to some others. Alright, so here's a picture of Bosco for scale on the deck. And this is actually from a time when I went up to Vermont for a PATH conference, or I think it's called the Professional Association of Therapeutic Horsemanship. I believe that's what it stands for, but this is back when I used to be a certified instructor myself, and so I went up for a conference once by myself. But I didn't want to be at the house alone, obviously, at the time, because again, it just had like a much more like a janky, kind of creepy vibe, like a cabin in the woods vibe. And so I took Bosco, and he was great. He made me feel really safe, because he kind of was always like a bit of a defensive boy. So I knew that I'd be really safe with him there. And yeah, it was a beautiful weekend. There was a thunderstorm though, and I remember there was a night when I was like reading this true crime book. I think it was about the Golden State Killer, written by, gosh, what was her name? I'm blanking on her first name, but her last name was McNamara, like myself. And really excellent book and really interesting cases. But anyway, I was reading them, I think, on this weekend, and it was like pretty scary because there was also a thunderstorm outside, and I just felt like, again, it was like a weird classic, like scary cabin in the woods vibe. So I quickly put that book down and just did something else. But I do remember that experience and kind of how strange it was. Here's another picture of Bosco just being silly. Now Bosco did pass away. For those of you who might not remember or know, he did pass away on Thanksgiving of 2020, unfortunately, which really was really incredibly sad, and I really miss him. But he was such a sweetheart with those that he knew really well and those that he trusted. So I miss him every day, and I just wanted to share a couple photos of him at the house and kind of just enjoying the house. Okay, next, let's move on to the Osage life updates. So this is Osage, and I wanted to share this photo because he loves this pink gymnastics mat that I got for myself for stretching. But it's basically a mutual thing that's shared between both of us now because he uses this all the time to lay out and cool down on a hot day. It's just a nice, like, firm, yet slightly squishy mat for him to lay on, and he loves this. He loves to play on it. He'll literally do, like, jumps and twists and, like, almost, like, backflips if I'm playing with, like, his, like, string rope with him on this mat. He won't really do those things just on the rug, even though the rug has, like, a good cushion pad underneath it. But with the gymnastics mat, he'll go, like, full force. And so if anyone out there has a cat, I highly recommend getting a gymnastics mat for yourself. The brand is called Balance From, not Balance Form, Balance From, which is like a weird typo, I think, because it's like an off-brand gymnastics mat, but it was like $40 a couple years ago. I use it every single day. It's great. I travel with it. It's awesome. It's good for camping. But yeah, it's helpful for your own mobility and for your cat to use at playtime. So highly recommend, and he absolutely loves this. Alright, now we have to actually rewind this already, but this is just a ridiculously silly video of Osage being a total gremlin, where let's just really sit back and watch what happens here, shall we? Let's just see. Okay, I want to actually go back one more time, because it's so ridiculous. Let me see if this is working actually. It might be kind of slow to respond. Alright, I don't know. It's just a ridiculous clip that I think is silly. Okay, here's Osage on the couch being ridiculous. Here's him snuggling up with his favorite blanket. Here's him snuggling up on his favorite spot in the curtain. He'll literally make like a little hammock with himself, and there's his lone paw sticking out. And then we also have him nuzzled in right here, looking ecstatic and relaxed, and I just think these are so cute. Okay, so next we're actually going to get into the Vermont update and the progress, slowly but surely, because this is an ASMR video, so we take our time, don't we? So, I wanted to share this photo because I have been avoiding caffeine really for the last couple years, and long story short, I discovered instant espresso crystals, which now I use whenever I need some caffeine. I try to still avoid it unless I really need it, but like rather than going to Dunkin' Donuts, rather than even going to like my local independent coffee shop, although I love to support them, I just can't afford like every single time I go there to spend like, you know, a full like $10 on like a coffee and a small pastry. So instead, I'm just here to recommend to you instant espresso crystals, both caffeinated and decaf, because they do make both. And what I do is I basically mix it with like water, with very hot water to dissolve everything, and brown sugar and goat milk, and it doesn't make me sick because I'm lactose intolerant. works perfectly for that. And it's so delicious. So just a quick shout out to that, because when I go up to Vermont, usually, because my stretching routine literally takes me like almost an hour and a half, even if I'm like going at a quick pace with it, that means I usually have to wake up pretty early for me as a night owl to get up to Vermont at like a reasonable hour. Thus, I need to have a coffee or caffeine source. So I've just really gotten into making this instant coffee, because it's so fast, it's incredibly cheap. It's like pennies, I think, to make this, compared to spending like $10 per trip to a coffee shop for something that's like just gonna make me sick, because my lactose intolerance. And so I just love it, and I think it's simple, and as a minimalist, I recommend it to everyone, and it's something to consider. So next, I want to read a guest book entry that I got a couple weeks ago. Now, again, this is really why I love being a host and allowing people to stay at the cabin and rent out the cabin, because I love the sense of hospitality. Like, I think back to all the times growing up that I was like, privileged enough to be able to have this place that was beautiful in nature, to make these memories with family and friends. And it's just a really simple place. There's a meadow, there's a brook, there's a deck, and it's just a wonderful place to be at peace and hear the sound of the brook and just really relax. So being able to share that with others is really, really meaningful to me, and I'm just thankful that we were able to do this whole Airbnb thing and the renovation of the cabin thing, to be able to get feedback like this, because it's really meaningful to me. It really means a lot. So this one was from May 24th to 26th, 2025, and they said, "What a lovely spot to stay for our college friends reunion weekend. The three of us have been friends for over 30 years, and we get together as often as possible to hike and thrift and eat. This cabin in the woods was the perfect backdrop for all of that. The weather, while cool, was partly sunny, and there was no rain, so we hiked the rail trail and shopped downtown. Watching and listening to the birds from the deck was a special treat. Thank you, Robin, Amy, and Kat." So this just warmed my heart. I always first thing rush to see what guest book entries are left when I'm going up to the house, because they're really important to me and they just make me really happy to check out. So next we got one that was in Arabic from a family from Saudi Arabia that we're traveling through. And what I did was I actually took a photo of it and I posted it on Reddit Translate, and I got lots of responses pretty quickly, and it was a beautiful entry. So we're going to take a look and just see what this actually says, because again, it just warmed my heart. So again, it was in Arabic, and they said, "Peace be upon you and the mercy of God. We've enjoyed ourselves in this beautiful place for 2 days, and it was a wonderful experience. I liked how the place was organized and clean, and all the items that were provided. But the wonderful experience, the beautiful location in the middle of this forest, and the sound of the water made the place more beautiful to me, and all the instructions were clear. I came from thousands of miles from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and I will undoubtedly return with a beautiful impression and unforgettable memories. Thanks, and then thanks to the owners of this place. I'll undoubtedly repeat the entire experience whenever I have the opportunity. And peace be upon you, my dear friends, and peace be upon the reader of this guest book entry." So, before I get into this video, again, it just meant the world to me, and I loved also being able to post it on Reddit. That was great, because I had a vague memory that the translation thing on Reddit existed, but it was just great to get feedback from actual Arabic speakers and readers, to have a direct translation, and they got back to me very quickly. So if you ever come across something that you need translated, head over to Reddit /r/translator, and should help you out pretty quickly.
Hey everyone, it's Megan. I'm just leaving my house to go up to Vermont today to do some restocking on the cabin and some basic maintenance work. So I've filmed so many videos, you guys, of me going up to the cabin and taking update videos and doing little, little vlog style clips like this, and I honestly just never get around to actually posting them. And then by the time I feel like I want to post them, they also feel very outdated. So I don't know, guys, you tell me if you're interested in videos like that. I like to make them just to kind of document what we've worked on as a family and just to kind of look back on it for myself as well. Because I always like that about YouTube, is just kind of having that documentation of like your own life. I think is it's just special sometimes to be able to look back on. Our cleaner, our wonderful, awesome new cleaner, she just left a little while ago, and I'm just leaving Connecticut right now. It's a 2-hour trip, and I'm about to get gas before I actually leave town. So I will update you guys when I get to the house, and we'll kind of take you along for some of the activities I'll be doing.
So this is Lilac Ridge Farm. It's a farm that's literally 5 minutes away from the house in Brattleboro, and I love going there. Usually like on the way up to the house I'll stop by. They make on site this maple and chocolate ice cream, so I'll usually get like a kid size, just like a mini cone that's like a twist. So don't be misled, they're not giving me like, a little dainty portion. If I had asked for an adult size, it would be like 3 times the height of this, but I just like to get the child size because it's like, just more of a portion that I like. And it's so delicious. The maple flavor is delicious. Again, it's like a Vermont specialty. It's really good. And it's basically like a little ice cream food truck on their property. And I'd say from downtown, it's like maybe like an 8-minute drive, and from the house, it's like a 5-minute drive on the way to downtown. So it's a great little place, Lilac Ridge Farm. You can look up to see what hours they're open through the summer, but I highly recommend them if you're in the Brattleboro area in the warmer summer months. Check them out. So next, I also have a lemon tart from the Vermont Country Deli. Not to be confused with the Vermont Country Store, that's another thing. But the deli is right off of exit 2 in Brattleboro. And they have lots of stuff. They have like really delicious pastries and deli food and mac and cheese and pulled pork and chocolate and maple syrup and just like all kinds of things. So it's right off the exit, and I just want to recommend them as well because like I think there's so many great local spots in Brattleboro, and I want to highlight them more as I'm doing these progress recaps, so that you guys can kind of just like get to know the town a little bit more and a little bit more about what it has to offer. But yeah, this lemon tart was like delicious.
Just got to the house, and I want to show you guys how we're looking today. Last year, at the end of the summer, we kind of not redid the driveway, but we just added more stone to the driveway. But I want to show you guys the beautiful stream. The stream goes all over the property. There's like multiple different paths that it takes. It's always really relaxing. Another random little tidbit, added this little wall along the cliff a few weeks ago because I don't want anyone to back off of this cliff in their car. And let's take a look at the house as well. So we've redone the siding of the house to cedar shakes, and there's some other updates that I'll show you guys as well. This is the little stone walkway to go around to the back door. Now, for some reason, people always choose to go around this walkway up to the back door, even though it's like less even footing and there's no railing. I like to just go in the front door and go up the basement staircase, but I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me. Maybe that way is the more cool, rustic way to go. So this is the side of the house. And I lucked out with a really beautiful day today. Today is Memorial Day, Monday. And it was forecasted to rain, but thankfully, I don't know, it's pretty nice out right now. Alright, here we're looking at the meadow from the edge of the driveway at the house. We're next to the wood pile. These are actually the slats from the deck that got taken out. And I'll show you guys what we replaced these with in a moment, but and there's the brook again. Alright, so let's go inside and we have some tasks to do and we're going to take a look at the list. So, let's see. I've done a couple things. I am currently recording videos throughout the clean house. But yeah, this is our list today. I'm going to try to go through this as strategically as possible. So, we're going to go give this a shot. So I'm restocking today a bunch of tissues that kind of go throughout the house. And then we also have, I just wanted to recommend this brand in case it's useful to anyone. It's called Real and it's bamboo toilet paper. So bamboo is actually a grass and so it's just continuously, constantly growing. So using bamboo for toilet paper is great because it's a lot more sustainable than cutting down like forested wood. And I really love this in terms of its like performance. It doesn't like break apart. It holds its own shape. It's also great for septic systems because there's no inks, dyes, or BPA. And like I said, it is pretty strong, but the texture of it is soft. I would kind of compare it to like Charmin Ultra Strong. It's not quite that intense, but honestly, because we have like a septic system, I kind of want it to be like slightly weaker than that. But yeah, it's great. I really like this brand and I couldn't recommend them enough. And I think it's like $14.99 at least in my area for a package of 12 rolls. So honestly, I was just trying to stock up on these to like not have to bring them up tons of times. So I got, you know, a bunch right here. We also already have some in the owner's closet right now anyway, but I just wanted to like really stock up, kind of take care of it in one shot for a while so that I won't need to like keep on restocking every couple of weeks or something. So this should last a while. And yeah, I just wanted to show it because it's one of those things that as a host, you know, you want to provide good quality stuff that isn't like the absolute cheapest, you know, nonsense. Obviously, you want to provide really great stuff for your guests because I really care about that and it's really meaningful to me to be able to share the house with people and make sure that they're having great experiences. So yeah, just wanted to share that part really quick.
Okay, so here we have the deck and we have some in-around deck chairs and some lounge chairs. But one thing that is new is, as you can see, there's now a grate in the deck. So this is a rain grate, and so rather than having gutters installed, which would ultimately get clogged pretty quickly from debris, sticks, and leaves from the surrounding woods, instead we didn't get gutters, we instead got this rain grate installed. That was why the deck boards were taken out previously. But what happens is the water will come off the roof, come straight down into the deck, and before it used to kind of splash back onto the siding of the house. And that can, you know, in the long run lead to more rot in the siding and just more damage. So my grandma basically just like did this. It was not a decision that she really consulted with anyone about. She had the guy who did her siding come back and do this, and I didn't really know what to expect until I saw it in person. Now, at first, I was like, what is this? This is like totally messing up the deck. Like, why would they do this? But thinking about it more, honestly, it kind of does make sense for like the specific situation of the cabin, where we really don't have a lot of people going up there to do like frequent maintenance on the house, like emptying out the gutters, would require in like the fall or, you know, the spring, things like that. And so honestly, this is a pretty low maintenance solution. And as you'll also see a little bit later, I think if I press play, I think it's included shortly. But, you know, another kind of plus is because of the grate in the deck, it actually also allows the rain to not only just fall straight through the deck and not splash back onto the siding, but because of that opening, visually more light is allowed below the deck, and so it doesn't look as like dreary below the deck. And there's more light down there to light up the entrance of the house and stuff when you go in and out. So it looks like this, and you can literally see straight down beneath it. And again, at first I was like kind of weirded out, but it's actually fine. It is a little strange to walk on, but you could easily like just step over it or step past it if you want. And I tried to add a couple of little plants to kind of like attempt to beautify it, you know, as best I could. And so I added these little purple flowering plants. I am honestly blanking on what type it is. I'm assuming lavender or lilac. I don't know. But they're really pretty, and they're pretty good for this area. And they're doing pretty well as well. And yeah, I honestly was pretty impressed overall with like how this went. Okay, so here we're kind of jumping to another improvement I did, or another update, where I installed a curtain to kind of cover up the owner's closet area in the primary bedroom. And so, as you can see, this used to just be open, and, you know, there was a bit more like visual clutter, but now there is this curtain installed, and it looks a lot neater, which I'm very thankful for. So here is kind of just like a little tour of how the house looks now. As you can see, it's a completely different vibe from how it used to look back in like, you know, 2021 or whatever, because I think that's when we began to do improvements on it, if I recall. Yeah, I think that sounds right. And so we have there kind of the gallery wall. We have the new wall heaters. There's a really comfy leather couch, and then we just have kind of a variety of seating. But I love how you can just see out into nature, and the sliding glass doors are really more of a focus of the room as opposed to the TV in the corner. I also love our wood stove. Unfortunately, it is off limits for guest use because it's a pretty intense safety liability. Like I think I've mentioned in past videos, I have a video all about the reason why we got the wall heaters that are electric instead. But yeah, this is the dining room now. As you can see, again, it's much more just like updated. And, you know, with the cabin, we never had the goal in mind to go for like an ultra modern, ultra luxe vibe. We always just wanted to have it updated to like a rustic, simple feel. And so, you know, there's just lots of light, there's lots of woodwork, and we just wanted the vibe to be very simple and welcoming and bright and airy. And the whole point of being in the house is to appreciate nature, so that's why there's so many windows where you can just look out into the greenery and leave the sliding glass doors open and listen to the brook flowing, and it's really just so peaceful to be there. So, as you can see here, we kept these cabinet uppers and we did paint these. We're gonna get doors installed on these, but it's a little unclear as to when that's gonna happen. We have the doors, we have the handles, but ultimately my cousin needs to go install them, and we just haven't had a time that's been aligned where that can work out, unfortunately. So now, as you can see, there's like basically everything else in the kitchen is new. New fridge, new stove, new countertops, new lower cabinets, new woodwork really throughout the house. And over here we also have a little fire blanket also just got a new bench just for people to put down their things when they arrive. And as you can see, that's a new window compared to the previous stuff that we had in there a few years ago. So we got a little collection of mugs in this cabinet. We got a bunch of different glassware and child's cups, and we have those all there. Shockingly, all of this has stayed in pretty good condition, fingers crossed. We also have here some of our coffee and everything. I also added in some maple syrup from another local business that's literally right down the road from the house. I think it's an 8-minute drive from the house, but it's called the Robb Family Farm, and they make maple syrup. So I drove down there, grabbed some, brought it back to the house last time I was there, and I put it out for guests to use because when you come to Vermont, I figure people, are aware that maple syrup is kind of a big deal, in terms of the local products that are made. And so I wanted to just offer that as part of the coffee selection. We also have some instant hot cocoa. We have a coffee grinder for these fresh beans that are dark roast, caffeinated, and decaf, organic. We also have some instant coffee packets that include creamer, some honey that's orange blossom, and you guys know how much I love honey. So this is one of my favorite affordable honeys that we provide. There's also a bunch of different types of teas, and then there's brown sugar, there's white sugar. So I like the different coffee that we offer and the variety that we offer. And I'll also try and edit in the updated version of this, because I think I added a couple more things. Like I said, after I took this video, I'm always making little tweaks and updates when I go to the house, so things can tend to look slightly different from time to time. So here again, we're just looking through the kitchen. We got our scrub daddies. We got the view from the window of the brook and the meadow, and oftentimes you can see deer down in the meadow. It's just really beautiful and peaceful to be able to look out. We also do provide a bunch of oil and vinegar and a couple spices and salt and pepper for guests always as well. And we have some skillets that are cast iron, as well as a bunch of other tableware and stuff that are kind of in the cabinets. And so here's just a tip for any other Airbnb hosts. But I listed here on the fridge a little rating system info sheet, and then a little QR code where people can follow us on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. So it's really helpful just to kind of give people some context with how the Airbnb rating system specifically works, because they're really, really strict with their reviews. And if your property falls below a 4.8, then it can be at risk of removal. So even if you have a really, really great property, those reviews can really they matter a lot. And so I always appreciate when people give this a little read, because it can kind of just help to provide more info. Okay, so here we have our Dreo wall heaters and our little info board. I think that having something like this, again, as a host, it might not be the most aesthetic thing, but it definitely helps give people the info for their checkout instructions and the emergency contact information, as well as basic safety for operating a propane stove, and the network and Wi-Fi information and stuff is there. And then over here is where we have our apron, our calendar, our fire blanket, and we're gonna go into, I think, the stairwell now. Now this is a thermal curtain that is super useful if you're ever at the cabin in the cooler months, because rather than using the little heaters to basically heat the whole entire house, if you're only a small group or whatever, you can basically just close this curtain across the stairwell doorway, and it just keeps the heat all on the first floor basically, and honestly. We also have a thermal curtain at my house that's like up in the dining room doorway for the same exact reason. It honestly does a phenomenal job at keeping the heat like in where you want it, and it just gets so much more like cozy and toasty and kind of like consolidated, so it's not like flying off into other rooms that you don't even want to be warm. You're really helping to optimize the efficiency of the units, to kind of concentrate the heat where you really need it. Okay, so here we have the bathroom. A couple things actually that I always think are really important in a bathroom are a squatty potty and a bidet. So I was very intentional to include those in our bathroom because, again, this is not like an ultra modern luxe experience, but it is a very comfortable and accommodating and clean experience for everyone. And then we also have this like wooden stool that my dad actually made years ago. I'm pretty sure he did, at least. I think that's what I've been told. And he did do carpentry for many years, so this is like just a little rustic touch, I think, that kind of adds to the vibe. And so here we just have our basic bathroom stuff, tissues, blah blah blah. And again, it's just like a neat little bathroom. Now this one is kind of, again, more details for the hosts or people thinking of ever hosting people at their places, but again, I'm really intentional to include like period product options in case any like women or menstruators are ever like lacking, or in case they've ever forgotten to bring their own stuff. So we have tampons and pads that I provide for people who might need them. And then we also have some backup toilet paper, of course, some bug spray that is people and child safe. I think it's also pet safe as well. We have a first aid kit here. And there's also what I call a forgot something bin. And I think I go to open it here in just a moment, but you basically just like push the top and it opens. And yeah, there's the bug spray. And in this bin, we basically just have a bunch of like extra toiletries, so stuff like lint rollers, toothbrush, floss, toothpaste. There should also be a hair clip. There's rubbing alcohol right behind that. There's Vaseline. There's just a bunch of different stuff in here in case anyone ever forgets a toiletry. They can just grab one of these. They don't have to worry about replacing it or anything. It's just a bit more of that hospitality to make sure that people are being accommodated and that they have the resources that they need. So another like good hosting tip is to have your welcome binder to combine your house rules, your house manual, and your closing instructions, as well as any other like local helpful things like a guidebook or information about local, goings on or whatever. So we always have this here right next to our guest book and right next to our snack basket as well. And we always provide 9 snacks to accommodate for up to 9 guests that can stay at the house. And then we also provide a little like welcome card that I think is just always a good touch, just to like make people feel welcome and kind of just make them feel a bit more at home. So in this binder, I also include a section of the user manual for the Dreo wall heaters as well, so people can operate them easily. They're very simple to operate, but it is helpful to have the instructions. There's the house rules right there. There's the house manual for the TV and the shower. There's more info about like basic safety for the wall heaters, like to not put stuff on top of them, not put stuff in front of them. There's the thermal curtain thing. So these are basically just like tips and tricks just to like help this day be really easy for your guests and to really kind of anticipate questions that they might have and needs that they might have. And this is an area of hospitality that I just really enjoy. I like to think about the guest experience and just like try my best as a person to offer them supports and advice. So we also have like some hiking information, as well as info on how to manage potential ticks if people are hiking, or if they're just going down into the meadow down below course, it's like totally optional. It just makes me excited. And then we have a little vase for a little flower. And so that's pretty much it for the welcome section. That's always available for guests as soon as they walk in, especially if they've been flying or driving all day. I want people to feel accommodated, right? Okay, so here we have our upstairs bedroom. This is just called the green room. Honestly, my phone camera isn't like super great at properly capturing what the lighting looks like, but the green room does not actually look this like yellowish in person. It looks a lot more just like true green. So that's more a fault of my phone camera than anything else. But as you can see, there's two single beds and a queen bed, so you can fit up to 4 people in this room. Another hosting tip is to provide lots of like free, clear, horizontal surfaces for people to put their bags, so that they can kind of be at like waist level and just easier and more accessible to reach, where they won't have to like be bending down. This is the blue room, and it's kind of like a slate blue color. It's got a queen bed that's more firm, and a single bed as well. And there's this little work area as well. All guests, of course, they get their towels. They have, everything they need. We always provide a variety of pillows as well, like one more firm pillow in case they want to use it for like their legs or like sitting up in bed or something to read a book, and then a softer pillow. And then this is just like a little touch that I've always loved, but this is like an antique lamp that's always been at the house that we kept there. But as you can see, it just has like a much more rustic vibe with the leaf details, and I've just always loved this little lamp. And then because of this lamp, we also got this other one in addition. I got this off of Facebook Marketplace a couple years ago because it kind of fit the same vibe as the first one. This one's on the desk, and as you can see, it just has a bunch of like plant details, and it's really cute. Now, here is where we have our house raising for Meadowbrook article. So I've reframed it and reprinted it on a much like brighter piece of paper that's not like worn down or anything or yellowed. And basically it's just a little article about, the raising of this house by family and friends years ago. So I just wanted to include it because ultimately, this cabin is not like an Airbnb. It's still my grandparents' house and a home away from home that they intentionally built for their family to enjoy. So I wanted to just include a piece of that and kind of just highlight it. So this is the primary bedroom that's got a queen bed, and down below we have some baby items for people who might need that, who might be traveling with an infant or a baby. So we have a high chair, we have an infant bath, we have a little kind of a thin mattress. That's actually more for like toddlers. You shouldn't use it for a baby that's under 12 months. It really needs to be for one that's 12 months or over. Because for a baby that's younger, you actually want to have a bit more of a firm surface for them, because they shouldn't really be like sinking down too much. But anyway, I digress. Next to that, we have a pack and play, and this can basically be used as like kind of a portable crib for people who are traveling with their children. So again, I always want to be as accommodating as possible for people who are from all walks of life and who have children, so that they can travel more easily and kind of have these needs taken care of and not have to take these things with them every single time. Another accessibility tool that I is a little like grabber reacher tool. I use this kind of thing all the time myself, and I'm again always trying to think of like, how can I make the space easier for people, more accessible, you know, have enough tools for like if they're kind of feeling achy or something. And so this is great for like, I mean, really anything they might need to grab or reach, but I provided it here to open and close the curtains because the curtain rods are kind of up tall near the ceiling, and it can be kind of hard to do it just by hand, so I provided it for that purpose, and I use it all the time. And so this is just kind of how the primary bedroom looks like in the afternoon. I just love how the sun kind of comes across the bed there, and it's just really pretty and very chill in this room. Here we can see probably a pretty drastic improvement, honestly, with this wall that used to have, you know, just an open view of the closet. It was fine, like there was nothing like horrible about the closet, but you know, it's just easier on the eyes to kind of have that stuff a bit out of view. So I put up the curtain, and I hope that is just a more like relaxing vibe for people this way. And both these mattresses, by the way, are super comfy. They're brand new memory foam mattresses. This primary bedroom one, and then the green room one as well. The mattress in the blue room is more of just like a traditional fur mattress, so it's great, you know, to just accommodate people again and provide like different options for what they might need. Because sometimes I've gone to Airbnbs, honestly, 2 different times now, where the mattress has been like way too soft to the point where like it's hard to even like move around because it has so much give that I can't even like find purchase to like move easily. And on the flip side, you don't want to be sleeping on like a rock either. So I find that these are great because it's like they're still memory foam, they're still comfy, but they are definitely firm and they're like a bit more on the dense side. So it's like way easier to move around on these, but they're still super comfy. And they work great, you know, depending on what your needs are. So I love them. Here's just one more angle of this room with our mirror and dresser. And then we have just a tall mirror in this corner, as well as a Vermont and New Hampshire map right here. And I just want to kind of point out where Brattleboro is in regards to this map. So if we kind of zoom in here, we can see that it's honestly kind of like right over the border of Vermont. It's about a 15-minute drive over the border. And so it's a great place to access if you're coming into Vermont. And yeah, it's just, you're kind of like over the border, and then you're like right into the Vermont vibe immediately. So I love having this little map here just to kind of give that context for people. Okay, so looking back at the deck, I want to just highlight, I guess, again, the rain grate that we have, and honestly, just like the view of the trees. It's so relaxing to just sit out on this deck. I obviously am like muting the audio for all of these just to minimize like too much background noise for people, but in real life, being able to hear the babbling brook is so just, it's like instantly calming to your nervous system, honestly. I'm including these photos just because we got some new trim around these doors, so they just look a little bit more updated. And as you can see also, here's where we're getting more light down below that's kind of coming through the rain grate to kind of help light up the door down there as well, which also got some new trim on it. So here we're just seeing, again, more view of the wood pile and the brook that's down there. And at this point, I'm forgetting what's even really in this video. Okay, so down there is the meadow down here, and we also do have a big clothesline available that my brother literally climbed this tree to hang up. Okay, so over here I'm just kind of showing the new different points throughout the season. There's like bunches of different ones. I tried to kind of take photos or videos, I should say, of some of the different ones that I saw. Here, there's a bit of an improvement where we took away this big plastic shed that used to house a lawnmower in the past, but since then we've kind of just taken it away. Now, this old hot tub used to be like a really old-fashioned hot tub where like you literally just light a fire underneath it because it's a cast iron tub. And so what my brother used to do is he would have a hose running from the brook going into this tub to provide it with fresh like brook water, and then he would light a fire underneath it, and that fire would then heat up the water, so he would have like a makeshift like wood-based cast iron hot tub basically. So that's why there's just a random tub in the meadow, is that it's there technically as an old hot tub, which like we kept because like who knows, we might use in the future. Okay, so here we see the meadow as well. Now, this was taken probably like a couple weeks after, before having it mowed. There's just me just saying hi. And it was a little bit like overgrown from the spring, but it's looking really good now. Okay, so here I'm just doing like, this is honestly just some maintenance stuff where I'm actually stuffing copper mesh into that hole because I want to ensure that any potential hole in the foundation is off limits for like rodents or something, because obviously the house is like literally in the woods on a 10-acre property, so there's that potential, and so we want to just ensure that we're excluding anything from the foundation exits and entryways, and just excluding those using the copper mesh is great because it doesn't rust. It is very like malleable. You can get it into really tight spaces, and it's pretty cheap to buy and pretty easy to use. So that's been a good tool lately. And then, as you can see, I just found this little nest. I think it was for a phoebe. I believe I saw a phoebe bird like flying in and out of this nest, and it was like 2 feet away from where I was doing this copper, so I felt bad because the bird was kind of flying away, and I didn't mean to scare it, but I really needed to get that done. But yeah, as you can see, there's like 5 little eggs in there in this little nest below the deck on top of this window flashing, and like honestly, great choice of where to build your nest because like it looks great and these eggs were in good condition and everything. And so here's just a quick video, like a time lapse of me installing this copper, and that's pretty much how you do it. It's very malleable. I also got, as you can see, some little cushions for these Adirondack chairs just for them to be like more comfy, because again, I want to like be accommodating for people's like joints and everything. Here we have our little tea drawer, and there's also a bunch of extra little backup flashlights in case of a power outage or something, which like normally doesn't happen at the house, but obviously with there being so many trees, I want to account for potential emergencies. We did have a power outage a few weeks ago, but thankfully the power came right back on very quickly within like 20 to 30 minutes, I think. Maybe like 40 tops, but it was great because I already provide these little like portable motion activated night lights that the people probably use because I saw them kind of moved around a little bit. And then we also do have a lantern, like a battery operated lantern that we provide as well. So we kind of already had some things in place in case, but this way we're just providing extra, more portable little tools for people in our tea drawer. And so that is that. And then these are here's just a little picture. I should have gotten a different picture as well, but I got a couple of hanging baskets, and I wanted to get flowers that, were a bit more, I don't know, like a little flashy without being like too red or pink or bold. So I always love the combination of purple and white. The conditioner and the cleanser that I use for our leather couch. So again, this might be helpful to you if you're someone who has a leather couch, if you're a host who is considering using a leather couch in your, your house or your unit or whatever. I definitely recommend them because they are super easy to clean. They're very, like, generally pretty stain resistant, and they just kind of wear nicely. And so what I do is I do this treatment just like once a year in the spring before we start to have guests. I try to get it done like a couple of weeks before we have guests so that the conditioner has ample time to sink into the leather skin, basically. And so I use this brand Otter Wax, and first what you do is you do the saddle soap with like a gentle sponge and a little bit of water, just enough to like make it foam up. And I spent, a couple of hours possibly doing this, but I sped it up. But first I'm using the saddle soap literally all over, like, every square inch of this couch. I want to get every nook and cranny. I also did vacuum in between the couch, and that's something that our cleaner already does anyway, but again, I always just like to do it myself as well. But yeah, you basically do the saddle soap, and you then kind of wipe off the excess, but you're trying to just ensure that the leather is clean so that it can basically receive the conditioner as best it can. So I went through the whole couch and I did the saddle soap, really all over every cushion, the back, the sides. You really want to make sure that you're taking care of the leather as best you can so that it'll last as long as it possibly can. So I did that, and then once that was complete, I then applied, as you can see, the conditioner all over everything. And then here's how it looked at the end. As you can see, it's like a little bit like shinier and brighter, but all of that, like, oil basically, or that conditioner is going to get absorbed and kind of sucked into the leather over the course of a couple days, and you just end up with this really nice, soft, supple leather that performs really nicely. So I love it, and this is just a really comfy couch that we got. It's actually made in Connecticut from Cloder Farms, and we did get this secondhand from someone, and it's just a super comfy couch. I love it. And we also did, if you can see, we did put in, let me see if I show it. I think it is shown a couple times, but we put in, maybe I skipped past it. Let me just go back. Yeah, so there it is. We put in this little, like, support underneath there, just to support the cushions more evenly, to ensure that, again, I'm just accommodating for different people's, like, weights and body types and stuff, or just, like, if a child was, like, standing on one cushion, I don't want their weight to be distributed straight down and, like, potentially, like, break a spring or something in the inside of the couch. And so that's why I have this, like, support in there, just to provide, like, more even weight distribution to hopefully protect the longevity of the couch in general. So I love this couch. It was like a great find, and I'm really thankful that we snagged it for the property. So as you can see, I'm in the Ocean State job lot parking lot. I got 2 more Adirondack chairs that can hold up to 350 pounds. These ones I love more than your typical Adirondack chairs, because those can typically only hold up to 250. And again, I really want to accommodate, like, as many people as possible, at an affordable price that we can, like, manage. So I got these couple chairs. I haven't brought them up to the house yet, but I'm going to be doing that probably next week after the current guests that are there head out. And my hope is that I'm either going to be placing these down in the meadow or down, like, next to the brook somewhere, so that people can kind of, like, walk out and then sit down in them and just kind of meditate and look at the brook and just enjoy. So that's my hope for these. They'll stay outdoors permanently. The only vague concern I have is, like, what if, like, a branch falls on them, or, like, what if the wind comes or something. But, like, I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it, I guess. And maybe that's a reason just to have it this video that I have here today for you guys. And yeah, I want to just thank you guys for staying with me throughout this video and just kind of looking at these updates with me. Again, it really means a lot to me to be able to share the cabin with everyone, whether those are guests that are actually going or here on YouTube, just being able to share the progress with you guys and just to be able to kind of like document it. So I hope you enjoyed. I will catch you guys in the next video, and of course please leave a comment or question down below if you have any that you want to share, and I'm always, reading those and responding to those as best I can. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now. Hope you have a great day or night whenever you watch this.